right, great to see you all. I'm glad you're here, guys. This is the very first mental toughness seminar that I've ever held. I want you all to know that I plan on being as transparent as possible. So what I mean by that is really, you can ask me anything you want. And so if you want to ask questions about how I've gone through some stuff, you're more than welcome to ask about the highs and lows, good, bad, and the ugly. If you feel like there's strategies that I have not tapped on, I want you to share what strategies have worked with you. This is really a communal conversation. I am going to share 3 things that I feel like people need to do, but I'm really going to dive into some practical strategies. And these are things that have worked for my mental health, but also, guys, they've just been proven, and so they work. I want to tell you every single thing I'm going to share with you and recommend for you to do is absolutely hard. There are no easy mental tough strategies. If there were, it wouldn't be called tough. And so there are no easy mental toughness strategies. And if you don't like that term, I will try to come up with another one. But just if we're going to grow mentally, it's just not going to be easy, especially as we get older. And all those grooves in our brain, even young folks like Ryan, I mean, those grooves in our brain are set, and it's not easy to create a new wrinkle. My mother, who passed away 11 years ago, she used to say this very sweet thing. It was a very country idiom. Anytime you learn something new, she'd go, "Well, you just got a new wrinkle in your brain." It's just this cute little thing that she would say. And so I just grew up that way. But when we get older, those wrinkles are set. And changing our mental patterns is really difficult. So let's say you're interested in changing, we'll go with the 2 easiest, eating and exercise habits. The reason those are hard are not because eating and exercising is hard. It's because our brain is set a certain way. And so those are really mental strategies more than anything else. And so that's where I'm going to get to. So if you don't mind, everyone, I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you. And at any point in time, if you notice that it does not change when I change the screen, then just let me know. Someone interrupt and say, "Hey, Gordon, that did not change." And so let me do this real quick. All right. Everyone can see my ugly face right there. And so the reason I share this picture is because that is me at mile 25 of the Boston Marathon. Now, my mile 26 pictures are wonderful. At the end of the Boston Marathon, I'm running and I got my hands up and I'm celebrating. That is me literally walking at mile 25. Every single muscle in my body below my waist was cramping. I was absolutely just in pain. And I bought the photos, and I bought the not very glamorous photos either, because despite the fact that I had worked 10 plus years to get there, it was absolutely excruciating to cross the line. So I share that photo because if it hadn't been Boston, I don't know if I'd have crossed the finish line. I really don't. I was in so much pain, but it was worth it. But I share that photos because I don't plan on sharing all glamorous photos today. So let's hop in. First of all, did the PowerPoint switch? Did everybody see? Did that go through? Success. Fantastic. So often it doesn't. Let me tell you who this seminar is for. I always like starting. First of all, it's for all of you guys because you showed up. But really, if you'd like to set and achieve goals, that's really what I want to talk about. Mental toughness is about setting and achieving goals. If you've ever been frustrated because you missed goals over and over and over again, and I can definitely say I have, I'd like to talk about that. If you're curious about how far you can grow, if you're like, you know what, I'd like to grow that ability, and you haven't given up on growth. If you ever wonder if maybe your mindset is what's holding you back, and if you're just successful and you want to take action, I think that covers everybody here. But really, that's who this is for. I want to make this super practical. And as always, guys, I want you to interrupt me with any questions. So I'm going to keep us buzzing along. And if I miss anybody in the chat, please share with me that I missed anything in the chat. Okay, so Celebration, that's me. See how great I look just 1 mile later? That was at the end of the Boston Marathon. And but if you make it to the end, I do have a little celebration for you guys. I do have an offer for you guys. Isn't that amazing? The difference between those photos is 10 minutes. 10 minutes prior, I'm in pain, I'm falling apart. You give me that medal, and then all of a sudden I'm all smiles because I'm celebrating a 10 plus year goal. By the way, the Boston Marathon was yesterday. I reserved the conference room in my co-working space. I closed the door, I closed the blinds, I put it on the big screen, and it's like the Super Bowl for me. And my wife, Amy, who supports me in everything I do, but says running is the most boring thing in the world to watch. I sat and watched 3 hours of the Boston Marathon and could not be happier. So, but if you make it to the end, if you've got the mental toughness to make it to the end, I do have something to share with you guys. All right, let's hop in. First of all, anybody who wants to grab 15 minutes with me, definitely scan that QR code, and we'll set up a little 15-minute one-on-one. I'll try to share that with you guys at the end, but I love connecting with you guys at any time I can. So let's keep going. All right, let me share with you what brought you to the point. I'm going to say this over and over again. I do not present myself as the paragon of mental toughness or someone who's got it all figured out, but I've been through some crap. And so I want to share with you where I've been. I want to share with you where I'm at. And then I want to share with you where I'm hoping to go in terms of mental stuff. But my story is that in 2012, I ran 3 marathons. And in fact, and all this is not going to be running related, but in the 12-12-12 marathon, that's December 12th, 2012, I ran a marathon with 12 people. It was, and I won. I literally won the marathon, but something was not right. And I got done and I went and I puked my guts up. Only twice ever have I puked. I've run 28 marathons, only twice ever. Something was not right. Well, that was 2012. In 2013, I was unable to run a single mile. My seizures were so bad. I couldn't run. Like, I didn't have the mental ability to focus long enough for 8 minutes. And I remember stopping in a parking lot of an apartment complex and weeping. Like, what is wrong with me? And I gained a bunch of weight. And I've gone from that to 6 years later qualifying for the Boston Marathon. And so that's been my physical health journey. And it has not been easy, and it's still part of what I do every day. All the photos on Facebook may look great, but there's days where just mentally standing up and walking out the door is one of the most difficult things. Additionally, I was a preacher's kid, and I swore to God I would never do anything like that ever in my entire life. And then I was a pastor for 20 years, ironically. And then now, you know what, I'm trying to figure out what my faith looks like in my 50s, because I've been going to church since 9 months before I was born. And so that was a long journey. Some of you also, that's a long journey of faith, and it hasn't been easy. And I think when I retired from ministry, it allowed me to be a little bit more honest with myself. And so, Stephen, thanks for sharing your contact information, man. Other transformations. When I was a kid, 11th grade, literally, I was sitting at the lunch table alone. No one wanted to sit beside me. That's a story for a different day. But I was the stereotypical, you see it in the movies, like no one would sit with me. Then I went to thinking that everyone in the world had to be my friend. And then when I retired from ministry, I lost almost every friend in the world I had except 2. And now I'm trying to figure out what it looks like to have healthy boundaries. Some of you have gone through boundary journeys, and that's very much a mental health journey. It very much is, to try to figure out how is it to be a human being, grow a business, do what we do, but be mentally healthy with the people around you. And I can say that as much of an extrovert as I am, I have definitely grown to enjoy my own company more and more. I don't freak out when I'm alone anymore. It's actually I actually enjoy it a ton. So I've gone from being broke to having a new career, to being broke, to being debt free, Now I've started a 6-figure plus business, and last year it grew 38%. And you know what? This year has not, it's been slow. And so I've been through all those iterations. And when I mean broke, I mean broker than broke. And so I've been through every one of those transitions. And I think some of you have shared that with me as well. And I also want everybody in this room to know, if you are in debt, there's no shame to you. People are so ashamed of that. It's okay. We're all trying to figure out how to live. And I've been in debt so much you couldn't pay it, to the point that I've had absolutely every one of every one of my bills paid. So it's really, really nice. So, and a couple of more. Now, my mental health journey is made up in what you see right there. I have broken my nose 8 times. That includes one just 2 months ago. I broke my nose 2 months ago. Very embarrassingly, a story for a different day. Charity is laughing at me. It's okay. It's all right. It was very embarrassing. I've had at least 4 concussions. I've been knocked unconscious 3 times. I have left frontal lobe brain damage, straight up. You can look at it. I have brain damage, and I have what's called partial complex seizures. Presently, my seizures are not manifesting. Now, what that means is presently there's no outward sign that I'm having them. I presently have seizures all day long, but I take a medicine that lowers the ceiling. So what that means is when they happen, my left frontal lobe fires incorrectly, and my medicine lowers the outward effect of them. So all day long, my brain is just doing crazy things. It's like a steady heartbeat, and then my brain goes like that, and then just comes back. I do not have what's called grand mal. So at least, thankfully, to this point, I have never had a full, what you would think of as a stereotypical seizure. I have long pauses. I have vacancies. My friend Ron is shaking his head, and Ron has shared this publicly as well. Ron has been an epilepsy fighter as well. So thank you, Ron. I appreciate you have shared that before as well. So I appreciate that. Many of us have. Right now, it's just something I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life. The doctor says, I will never let you off your medicine. And that little part inside of me goes, you say that, but I have promised to my family that I will always stay in my meds until I am cleared. So that is my journey, guys. Yet despite all of this, these are things that God has enabled me to do. I got my bachelor's, my master's. I won teacher of the year, believe it or not, when I was in the school team. I've been an ordained minister. I've qualified for Boston 3 times. I got all the degrees like a thermometer, Dave Ramsey, John Maxwell, all that stuff. But I'm most proud of being married 28 years, just a couple of weeks ago. And then my 3 amazing daughters. I do not share with that at all as in like, look at me resume. It's just that I know that God has enabled me, and I've been through some strategies that have enabled me. Everything you see below ordained minister has happened post seizures. The certifications and the marathon qualifying and the Premier Excel and that best-selling, those were all things that I was able to accomplish after the seizures manifest. They manifested very late. They manifested at 42. So if you guys don't mind, I do want to share a little bit about that, and then I want you guys to feel free to ask any questions. There's a type of seizure that's not epilepsy. Now, mine is the definition of epilepsy is it's a chronic condition. Epilepsy means seizures that are caused by something that will not go away. So, for example, I have brain damage, so that's epilepsy. That brain damage is not going to go away. But there's also a secondary type seizure that's caused by emotional trauma. So in 2012, I had the brain damage, but they had never happened. The seizures had never happened. But in 2012, I lost both my parents within a 4-month period. And the best the doctors can assume is that triggered my brain damage. And so that's what brought about and manifested. I remember going to my very first doctor, and the doctor, it's not his fault. He said, hey, are you under any stress? I'm like, yeah, I'm under some stress. Both my parents passed. And he goes, well, you should try to probably reduce stress in your life. And I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm not upset with that. He did the best he could do. But that emotional trauma triggered the physical trauma. So that's what ultimately caused them to manifest. Now, I will tell you that I do dream of a day that I'm like, wait a minute, if trauma can trigger them, couldn't peacefulness cause it to go backwards? But we have not gotten to that point yet. If that makes sense, that's what my brain thinks. It's like, can I outpiece my trauma? But at the moment that has not happened. So guys, that's my journey in terms of like my physical illness and my brain damage, and that's what's brought me here. I will let you know that as I came out of the seizures, meaning when they began to become regulated, it took 2 years to regulate them. I just became obsessed with understanding brain health. And I learned, hey, I can tell my brain what to do instead of my brain telling me what to do. That was revelatory. I thought I just had to do whatever my brain told me to do. But I was like, no, you can tell your brain. You can be the one speaking to yourself. I learned things and I don't think this contradicts my faith in any way. I found ways to peacefully meditate, to calm myself down. Fortunately, running, the increased metabolism of running actually counters the effects of my meds. And I just went on a brain journey, and to a certain extent, I still am. So I'm putting together right now sort of a master list of brain healthy books, and anybody who signs up later on, I'm going to share it with them. This is books and podcasts that have really transformed how I approach things. But I'm constantly searching for that. I have to protect myself from not swinging the other way and becoming obsessed with learning, because it does get to a point where there's danger in too much information, and you think you're making progress, but all you're doing is just learning facts. And I'm given to that. It's one of my weaknesses. So before we jump in any further, I do not mind. Does anybody want to ask questions about my brain journey or kind of what brought me here? I do not mind at all, but feel free if anybody wants to ask me any questions.
I'm trying to come up with the right way to, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you mentioned that you still have your seizures. Have they lessened at all? I'm thinking about this in terms of my own. As a child, I had seizures, and then as I got older, they seemed to they calmed down to a point from dropping a glass to actually setting the glass on the table during the seizure, and then they took me off medicine eventually. So I was just wondering if there's any kind of progress like that going on.
That's a great question, Ron. And the answer I don't enjoy is I don't know, because my meds mask the outward effects of them. And so the last CAT scan I had still shows them. And quite honestly, I just haven't endured that process again. You know, I mean, I could ask. I've got new insurance, so I'd have to go to a new neurologist, and it'd be wise for me at some point in time to do that. Now I still kind of space out and get lost, and that could be I'm 54 as much as anything else. I don't like to think that, but if you asked me, I would say in the last 2 years, I feel like I've lost a little bit of a step. I'll be honest with you, like just brain wise. I'm very productive and I'm still creative, but I find mental fatigue very much something I experience. Like just my brain is tired. And I have to tell myself, literally, don't do anything but watch a really bad action movie. Do something that makes your brain, you know, I have to do things that would allow me to just have the lowest level brain frequency. So sometimes that's my guilty pleasure, is just kind of tap out that way. But I appreciate you asking, Ron. I really don't know.
If you get tired now at 50, did you say 54? Wait until you get to be 80.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Really do.
That's where I'm at.
But Ron, I'm telling you, man, I'm after that like miracle elixir of life. I plan on living past 80 and being in great shape. So I appreciate it. So Charity, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Okay, so when you found out, obviously you had no indication prior, but so how old were your kids at this time? Do math for me, because I don't want to.
So I was 42 when they happened. So that was 12 years ago. So Meredith, they were 10, 8, and 6.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it was awful for them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of wondering what effect, and who has the time, probably not you, but like what happened the day you get this information, how you guys handle it.
So, I mean, Amy's given me permission to do this. Amy has had bad health our entire marriage. I mean, like she has chronic conditions. She's had cancer. So I've been the caregiver in a way. I mean, Amy's not homebound or anything like that,
Sure.
but like I'm the one who picks up the slack, if you will, if that makes sense. And that's the way we work. It was great. But for 2 years, that rug was pulled out from under us. And my children were terrified when I would have a seizure because I would be in a conversation with them and then I'm blank behind the eyes, like I'm not here. Or I would start saying things that were just jumbling and made no sense. And then what would happen every single time I would come out, because I'm partially aware. So I would come out of it and they would go, Dad, you have a seizure. I'm like, no, I didn't. And then I'd be like gripey and mad, like I didn't have one. I didn't have one. And I did. The other challenge was while they were trying to figure out my meds, and any of you who have had loved ones who are on multiple, Nancy, I know multiple drug trials, like they would put me on one med and it wouldn't work. They would increase. And when it didn't work, they would begin decreasing that one and add a new med on. So you got two going on at the same time. So I would literally just have to come home in the middle of the day and lie on the couch. Like I would just come home and sleep for 4 hours to function. So it was very difficult. I'd be honest with you, in the big range of all the guilt parents have, I worry about the effect that this had on them because they had two parents who were just doing their best to survive. And I mean this, guys, broke as profanity. It was a crazy time. And so it was hard for them. Unfortunately, I think Landry noticed it the most. She was always the one to be like, Dad, I just providential. I just happen to be around her. So even now, if I space out just and I'm in another world thinking about something or whatever, they'll say, are you okay? And all honesty, I'll be like, I'm fine. Like I get defensive around that. And I'm very thankful they ask. Yeah. But I do get a little, I do get a little defensive. Or if I just don't hear you, I'm like, I didn't have a seizure. I just didn't hear you, but anyway, but yeah, it was tough on them. It really, really was. Now, when I got my brain back, I felt like I took the red pill in the Matrix. I mean, I felt like all of a sudden I was like, like as they started.
Was it an instant difference? Like when you got the medication that worked for you? Like,
yeah. About a month into the proper medication and the proper dosage, there was a spike. I wrote 3 books in 6 months. Like it was literally like just getting.
Your brain actually did wake up.
Yeah, I felt like I woke up, and so. I'm reminded of that level of productivity now. Like, what was I doing then? And then I changed my diet. I'm going to tell you guys I did. I went to a low carb diet. I went 1 complete year with no alcohol. I still eat a relatively low carb diet now. That was transformative. Just reducing breads and sugars because your brain hates all those things. The body loves them. They taste so great. Like you can eat M&Ms and your brain's like, I'm so happy. Like your brain is not happy. Your brain is drunk. And so like for me, that was a huge part too. So yeah, but thank you. It was hard on my family and they worry. My medicine is brand new. Meaning when I started it 12 years ago, it was brand new on the market. So the first 3 years, it wasn't covered by insurance. So I always ask my doctors like, hey, what's the long-term effect of this? And they're like, you'll tell us. Like I literally am the test case. So I'm like, well, that's very, and they're like, well, it won't cause any effects. I'm like, how would you know? Like, you don't know. Yeah. I'm like, I will let you know if I get, so, back in the background, there's a worry that it'll cause Alzheimer's or something, literally, it affects my brain chemistry, but sure. I am literally the test case. It was 3 months to public when I started taking it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and like CVS doesn't carry it. It's
Did you
still
discuss that? Like the two of you, like a long time of like, do we try this? Or were you just like, this is the only option, got to do this?
When I got my brain back, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Now, I will say that I've gone from the maximum dosage to they have something called minimal efficacy. So I take the minimal amount for it to still work. And I'm very thankful for that. I was able to lower, but I take 2 pills a night. I can't take 1 because it's not enough. If I miss one day, I don't have a seizure. I've accidentally missed a day here or there, but you know, I've never missed 2 days in a row. That would be terrifying on the family. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for
thank you. Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. So, well, let me move into strategies. These are strategies that I use, and you don't have to have gone through what I've gone through or what Nancy and her family have gone through, or Ron or anyone else. And but I think these are strategies just work. So, but let me start dropping some truth bombs on you that all toughness is mental toughness. Everything. If you were like, man, how does that person do it? They are mentally strong. They are mentally strong. You're like, I don't know how you keep going. And people go like, I'm so tired. I'm like, you're mentally strong. Every athlete, marathoning, 80% physical, 20% mental training, but marathon day is 80% mental. Like you're telling, and it's that same way when you're caring for someone. It's that way if you're changing the way you eat, because you can say, well, I'm gonna remove all the junk food from my house. Your brain is like, go to McDonald's. The bowl of M&Ms, two won't hurt. I mean, and again, this isn't about food judgment, but if you want to grow and add on any attribute of toughness whatsoever, it is a mental battle. So if you train your brain, then the body and everything else goes from there. But there are no, and you'll see athletes falter in the tough moments, and that's a mental training issue. But like Michael Jordan, he took that shot so many times. Kobe Bryant, who has since become legend, he had what's called Mamba mentality. Like his training, he would do 1,000 passes to begin his training on the basketball court. He'd pass the ball for 1,000 times. You're like, here's a guy who took 66% of the shots on the basketball court, but he would begin because he was like, I'm going to pattern myself for the fundamentals every single day. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar started every single practice making sure he tied his shoes correctly. Like, Stephen King writes 6 hours every single day. John Maxwell writes 5 hours every single day. The people that we admire, they're mentally tough. And when you see them begin to falter, the body falters. But usually you'll see an athlete retire and go, I just don't have it in me to do another season. It's the mental grind of it all. So, but yeah, guys, all toughness is mental toughness. So let's hop into some things here. So first of all, what is mental toughness? Does it matter? And if so, how do I grow it? Mental toughness is the ability to do what you want to do. Like now we are automatically going to follow our desires. But if you're like, I want this thing, mental toughness is the ability to go do that thing. Think about any measure of physical training, not just running. If you gain muscles, the only way those muscles are gained are through resistance. Your body is able to handle a little bit, and then it's able to handle a little bit more, and a little bit more, and that increased ability to handle resistance grows your muscles. So mental toughness is the ability over and over and over again to endure circumstances and continue to do what you know you want to do, like the right thing you want to do. And so that you have to train your brain just like you would train your body. So if you want to lift weights, you're going to hit the gym. If you're going to train your brain, you're going to have to train. I'm going to give you strategies for that, guys. I really am. So, but mental toughness is the ability to think the way you want to think, not just automatically. So nothing's going to happen unless you do these 3 things. Mental toughness doesn't happen without a tangible goal, because you can't just go, I'd like to be mentally tough. Like, no one knows what that means. So you got to set tangible goals. You got to have an unwavering plan, and you do have to find some measure of accountability, because otherwise you're in your head alone. And we all know, I bet everybody in this room knows, that if we're in our head too much, it can put us in some bad spots. And yeah, how many of you, raise your hand, have you ever been in a conversation and you tell a good friend something that you should have told them, and they go, why haven't you told me this? Right? Everybody had that. And it's like, I don't know. I was embarrassed. And they're like, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Like we have to have some measure of accountability. Now, we could have a whole seminar on accountability because most accountability sucks. I'm just going to be honest with you. Usually our accountability is someone who is as messed up as we are, and that does not help. That's a buddy. So I have a friend. How many of you know Carla Alsop? Do you guys know Carla? Anybody locally? If you haven't met Run with Carla, she's so much fun. So Carla is she's done some work with Vets on Track. She has a little company called Montana Mercantile, and I've shared this story before. She's a runner. She cares nothing about speed. Nothing. In fact, she usually runs with frozen daiquiris. Like, she does not care with speed. She ran 76 miles a couple of months ago with no training. And I had mentioned not going running because it was a downpour of rain. And she just went, well, you just need to put your big boy pants on and go running in the rain. And I'm telling you guys, every time I've tried to bail on a weather run since then, I'm like, Carla, like, if it's not lightning, go run. I mean, this is me. I mean, like, if it's cold, oh, you're gonna be cold, stay home, Gordon. Now, that's the accountability is, like, hey, I get it. This is hard, but this is what you said you were gonna do. This is what you said you were gonna do. And that accountability is special. It's rare too. Usually you have to pay someone to do it, but still at the same time, if you can get it. But guys, if you want mental toughness, what does that look like? Does that mean that you want to stop the lizard brain? Lizard brain is an expression for like the brain that just wants what it wants and it's going to do what it wants. If you want to tame the lizard brain, what does that look like? Does that mean I'm going to quit watching crap television? And I don't, guys, forgive me, all my friends in here. I'm not offended if you cuss, but some people are like, I just got to stop cussing. I got to get control. My mouth is out of control. Or how's this one? We're going to say I'm going to stop gossiping, or I'm only going to listen to beneficial podcasts, whatever the case may be. You've got to decide what mental toughness looks like. You got to write it down, create a plan, and get some accountability. And if you do that, you're on the way. Now, this is true for everything. It can be for how you want to eat. It can be for how you want to exercise. It can be for how you want to grow your business. It can be for how many books you want to sell. It can be for how many clients you want. These three things do not change. They just don't. Cliches work when they work. If whatever is managed, whatever is measured is managed. Like, I mean, if you decide you want a goal and you measure it, then you're going to succeed in it. And so, but guys, this is true whether it's mentally or physically. So what I want to do is go super practical for the rest of the time. Those are the three things you got to do. I'm going to try to make it practical for you. Like, here's ways to do it. But before we hop in, any questions, anybody got any thoughts or anything they want to share? Rock and roll. Okay. All right. You got to make a decision. This is me sitting on a yoga mat, drinking a cup of coffee, writing out my plans. I do this pretty occasionally. If you want this, you've got to decide you want it very specifically. Like, you have to make this a come to Jesus moment or an AA moment or whatever works for you to make it in your brain. Like, you've got to decide, this is what I want for me. And this is a 100% solitary journey. You may have accountability, but mental growth is solitary because it happens in silence between your ears. And I'm telling you guys, I read and study as much crap as I read and study good stuff because I'm constantly on a search for, like, what's the tool? What do I have to add? And then some of it I share with you guys. Some of it I just laugh and throw out. Some of it I'm like, people would not believe what I'm listening to right now or reading. But honestly, you have to decide this is something you want. It will not happen by accident at all. And it has to be quantified. Like, what is it you're trying to change? And I know in my brain, and I won't share it with you guys. I know 3 things about my brain right now I want to change. Like I want to think differently about this thing right now. I want to think differently about this person right now. I would like for this portion of my day to be thinking differently. Real quick, what part of the day do you guys think best? Anybody got a part of the day you're like, this is my golden hour? Anybody?
Evening.
It's right now for me.
Right now? Well, Ryan,
Yep.
thank you for sharing the best part of your thinking day with us, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right now. It's like 7 o'clock until I go to sleep.
I love
My
it.
work
Thank
is
you.
over and I don't have to focus and I can just think.
I love it. Thanks. Yeah, a lot of people are evening thinkers. Nancy, what were you going to say? Nancy M.
Nancy.
I'm probably a early mid-morning person. Like once I get my son squared away and I've had my coffee and I can kind of get away and focus, then that's probably when I do my best stuff. Because at like 4 o'clock, my brain wants to shut off because I have to start thinking about dinner.
Is that PM? Yeah, I start fading at 4 PM. I really do. So
yeah, really bad. So
yeah, thank you. Nancy K, how about you?
Yeah, mine's usually like between, I'd say 1 or 2 till 6 or 7 in the afternoon,
Nice.
because
Okay.
that's when I get most of my uninterrupted time.
Mhm.
And in the morning, I like to get things done. Like I like to write letters. I go out and do my fitness walking, not running, but fitness walking. I like to do all those kinds of things early. And then I'm ready to come up here and sit down and work and think. And I'm usually uninterrupted if I turn my phone off, you know?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Otherwise, there's just text. But it seems like an odd time of day, maybe, but I think it's mostly because I'm least interrupted this time of day.
Okay, I get it. Ron, how about you, sir?
I think my best thinking time is at nighttime, but because of lack of time, I usually do most of my work in the morning. But
I get it.
I seem to think better. I mean, as far as my mind being free to think of ideas and things like that seems to occur either in the afternoon or in the evening. In the morning, it's mostly devoted to putting all that stuff, whatever I thought about the day before. That's when I put it into work.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to share? You don't have to, but anybody else would love to?
I'll add one thing. For me, when I'm out doing the walking, actually, that's when so many ideas come to me. So I am doing a lot of thinking during that time. And then I'll make mental note, or sometimes I'll say it to my phone or something. But then I can utilize that in the afternoon.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mine is about 45 minutes after I wake up until about 9 to 10. Now my first 45 minutes, I pop into get ready to go run mode and I don't need to do this and check my phone before I go out. But then I start listening to podcasts and audiobooks. It starts priming my pump, gets me thinking, just ideas. And then by the time I get into the office, but yeah, about 45 minutes after I wake up. So usually around 5 to 9. 5 to 9 is really my great time. But after lunch, I got a kickstart because I get a little logy. I love that word. And then around 4 to 5, like, oh my. So so thankfully right now I'm queued up really well. I'm thankful for that. But yeah, that's my time. So anybody else feel free to share. I don't mean to skip anybody. But going back to the point before we change the slide, if you want to change your mentality, your mental toughness, it's a decision you have to make. Like my life has been this way. My brain has been this way. I'm going in another direction. And then it is going to be insanely difficult. But I think of the inverse. I'm like, well, what am I going to do if I don't? That's the other option. So that often helps me. But all right. We got to clean up your diets. Don't get me wrong. Those donuts look really good. Where's that from? Freddy's, I think, downtown Fredericksburg. You have to clean up all your diet. So first of all, let me say this. I'm not speaking here in diet of terms of like going on a diet. Let me speak physically for a minute. Back in the 90s, there was a weight loss plan called the Atkins diet. And it was a very low carb diet, and everybody took it and everybody lost a bunch of weight. The Atkins diet was designed for epilepsy sufferers originally. And then what they discovered is everybody's losing weight. And this will relate to more than epilepsy, I promise. But what they discovered is that sugar is awful for the brain. So raw bread and anything with sugars, and definitely stuff with artificial sugars. And so it clouds your thinking. It might give you an initial burst, but that burst is brief. It is very, very brief. Now, I'm not advocating your overall diet. I will encourage you to lower the amount of sugar you put in your body if you're trying to increase your mental toughness. So I used to love milkshakes. Vanilla milkshake. I couldn't have a milkshake. If I had a milkshake right now, I'd have a brain heart attack. I mean, like my brain would literally explode if I had one right now. And, but I just don't do them anymore because the payoff is nothing. Like there's just no payoff for me. Like it's a momentary 10-minute, maybe depending on what you get at a cookout or not. It's a momentary enjoyment. And if you love milkshakes, I don't care. But like for me, I just can't do it anymore. And listen, my wife is so wonderful. If anything she cooks for me, I'm going to eat anything. But I have control over 2/3 of my diet. I have control of my breakfast. I have control of my lunch. And then, Amy's mindful of that. But if you clean up your mental, physical food, it's going to transform. So if you're a soda drinker, I'm just telling you, I don't care if it says sugar-free. I don't care if it says 0 calories. I don't care what that can says. A soda is going to hurt your brain. Now, let's talk about the other diet, the one that's harder, and that's your mental diet. That is, what are you putting in your brain? What do you put in your brain? And quite often, many of us will sit down in front of the television at night and we are exhausted. We've earned that fatigue. And every now and then, it's worthwhile to have just a mindless action movie. But quite often, our mental diet, we're just being fed stuff that does not grow our brain at all. Just does not. And guys, listen to me. I love movies. I saw 100+ movies last year. I get it. But what is it we're putting in our brain? Is it encouraging to us? Is it stimulating? Is it creative? I get we need a little bit of distraction. I totally understand that. And then think about your conversations. Are you around negative people? Now, some people we don't have any choice of. They're in our sphere. But some folks we can choose to not spend time with anymore. And we don't have to hurt their feelings. We just go, you know what? They're negative. They complain. All they do is gossip. Like, I don't leave there encouraged. It hurts your brain, guys. Like, it literally does. And there's nothing wrong to say you're getting together with a friend and you've got an hour schedule and 30 minutes in go, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry to go. I'm not feeling well. I got to go. There's nothing wrong with it. I bailed on an appointment 25 minutes in last week. It was none of you guys. I was like, this is a fruitless conversation. I'm not enjoying it. They're just dumping all this negativity on me. They're not asking for any help. I can't help them. They're not going to be a future client. This is the only thing good here is I got a good cup of coffee. And so I just bailed on it. I was like, I'm not helping them. They're not helping me. I'm just another person for them to talk about bad things. Cleaning up your mental diet will transform. And so if you enjoy solitude when you're walking or working out, rock on, keep doing that. But if you're listening to things, what are you listening to? A good audiobook, a good podcast, something that's mentally stimulating, something that's challenging you, something that's teaching you, and again, what you're watching, I get it. I'm not telling anybody what to watch on television, but just at some point in time, we do have to ask, what am I programming my brain to do? And I will also say, I don't like a lot of a lot of negative talk, a lot of doomsday talk. I just don't dig it, guys. I really don't. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But doomsday conversations over things that have not happened yet are just not good for our brains. They're just really, really not. Any thoughts on this? I've hit 2 points already. I've talked about making the decision and cleaning up your diet. So anybody got any thoughts or feedback or questions? I don't want to spend the entire time talking. I've got 2 more strategies and then a few more things for us to think about. But any thoughts, guys? So Nancy, I can't listen to Bedros anymore. It's just too negative. Sorry. I like him.
I haven't listened to him in a while.
Sorry, Nancy Massonet, and I will share a quote with Nancy every now and then from a guy named Bedros Keuilian, and I really like him. I do. He's got a tremendous success story, but he spends a lot of time just beating people up all the time. And after a while, I'm like, you're not talking to me, so why am I listening to this guy anymore? So, well, let's keep going, guys. All right, journal. This is not just a capitalized commercial. I literally keep 2 journals. How many of you have any sort of pattern of journaling? Anybody? Like writing your thoughts out? Nancy K has a little bit. Anybody else? Ron, I'm telling you, it's transformative to put your thoughts on paper. It's startling to put your thoughts on paper. Now, for me, this has always been a pattern of prayer, because if I sit with my eyes closed, I go to sleep. That's the way my metabolism works. So even since I was a kid, I just wrote mine out. It's transformed, and I'm going to share with you my journaling pattern. But journaling is just transformative. You will not believe what you just said on paper. And you'll be like, oh, that's in my brain. You can go to Amazon and find journal prompts. If you're like, well, I don't even know where to start. And you can find journal prompts and they'll ask you questions. You just answer them. But putting your thoughts down on a piece of paper will transform your brain. Now, I keep 2 journals for a couple of different reasons. I keep one that is only affirmations. Only things that I know are true. Because I have to tell my brain true things. Because my brain will tell me things that are not true. Your brain lies to you all day long. Your brain will say things like, you're not loved, and everyone in this room is loved. Your brain will tell you, I don't have the ability to do this, when you more than likely have the ability to do it. And so I have one journal that's nothing but affirmations, things that I know are true. Some of them I write over every single day, and that one I'm just going to keep to myself, but I write down affirmations. Some people do spiritual affirmations. Some people want things that they want to remind themselves are. But I have one that's just nothing but affirmations. And that's just me writing the same things over every single day, because I'm trying to pattern my brain with truth. The other journal is where things get crazy. Now, when I start journaling, my brain wants to go to business first. So I get that out of the way. I write down every prospective client and the contract dollar beside it. I go ahead and get it out of my brain. This is just me. Because if not, I'm going to start journaling. And I'm like, oh, I need to contact that person in Philadelphia. If I don't write it down, so I just go ahead and write down. So some people write down their to-do list. That's fine. Like, let me get my to-do list. What's burning in my brain? For me, it's my contact list. And then I start a combination of prayer and thankfulness. I've told people over again, I'm not the first one to say it. You cannot be thankful and complain at the same time. You just cannot. A couple of things here. Nancy Massonet said Pinterest has got great journal prompts. And Charity was just saying that she liked the suggestion on that. Yeah, if you've never done journal prompts, check them out. But guys, if you start with a heart of gratitude, it changes you. Like, what are all the things I have to be thankful for? So I write down things I'm thankful for. I write a series of prayers out. And then I've started doing this. This has been a little bit more difficult for me to do. I go ahead and just start thanking God for giving me all the stuff I've been asking for. Now, here's why I do that. And guys, I understand everybody here comes from a different faith background. I appreciate your patience with that. I think you guys have a sense of where I come from. Jesus said, pray like you've already been given it. Pray as if it's already true. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and thank God for it then. And so I go through a normal set of what's called petitions. You know, dear God, please. I mean, I start with thanks, please. And then I just write down, dear God, thank you for making this thing happen. Do they always happen? No, of course not. But it puts me in a sense of peace and like tranquility as much as my brain will allow me to. And I do this about 4 days a week. I write down my affirmations. I write down my contact list. I write down what I'm thankful for. I write down my petitions. And then I write down thankfulness. And guys, it really only takes me about 30 minutes. I mean, you can take as long as you want, but this is very hard for me to do. I wait till I get to my office, which is usually around 7:30, and I want to get to work. I mean, I've already gotten up, run, I've eaten my breakfast, I've loved on my family. So I want to like just get to work, but it's really important for me to take this time. It sets my day. I would love to include an afternoon session like this, but I have not been able to do that yet, just all honesty. But I'm telling you, if you want to know what's going on in your brain, start journaling. Start writing down that stuff. And you know what, guys? Be honest. I mean, you know, lock it up, write in a language that no one can read, burn it when you're done or something. But be deadly honest in this. Because again, don't fool yourself. Be in charge of your brain. And if you're not honest, you're not in charge of your brain. Either your brain is deceiving you or you are deceiving your brain. So any thoughts on journaling before we hop on to my last strategy? We've already been going an hour here. It's crazy. Yes, Nancy K.
I have a comment. I just finished reading both a novel and another book, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And the novel, as well as the other book, kind of hit a lot upon some of the same things. And in the novel, the character, when he's older, he was a 14-year-old boy. First, he had a quote in there. I looked it up to tell you. He says, "It's really important when you're thinking bad thoughts about yourself to remember they might turn out to be wrong." So, you know, he was telling another character, like, just remember when you're thinking these bad things are going to happen, or you're going to be this way, or you're going to be that way, that you could be wrong, you know.
That's right.
And maybe that's not what's going to happen, and maybe that's not what people think, and maybe that's not what you're going to do. And the other thing was, you just hit upon it, was not, you know, being truthful with ourselves. But the whole idea, both in the novel and in the other book, about telling the truth. And part of that is telling the truth to yourself. You know, what do you really think? What do you really feel? What do you really want? What is the truth? You know, and telling the truth.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you. It's very easy to be self-deceived. And here's our favorite. We're very easily convince ourselves we know what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
And I would like to offer, you barely know what you were thinking. You barely have any concept of what you think day in and day out, yet you've already determined that you've got them figured out. So, but that idea about what we think about, Nancy, I've got a slide about that in a minute. So I definitely want to address that about how we think about things. But we definitely have decided we know how people are thinking, and we judge them accordingly. And then I would just offer, yes, sir. Who is that?
Well, this is Steven.
Hey, man.
Hey, sorry, I'm driving, but you know, for like combat veterans, it is hard for us to turn that off. You're trained to think of the cup being half full, when civilians like you guys are easy for you to train your brain to say, oh, you know, it's always full, or you know, for us, I'm sorry, half empty. For us, because you had to think of the worst case scenario to be prepared for that.
Sure.
For that bad thing that could happen. So I know, like, for me, it's a challenge, and I know that's a challenge for my wife to deal with it, because she's very positive. She's a positive person. For me, you know, I look at things on the worst case scenario to prepare myself for what could happen. So how do you train yourself to switch that? I know Felix has been trying for 20 years and it hasn't worked.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. And I'll do my best with that. I mean, I'll address what comes up on the slide. I'll go ahead and address it now. I mean, we can create scenarios in our brain. We're going to. And for me, I have fake conversations. Like I have conversations with people all day long. And then when I'm running, I'll actually talk to people I know that that's generally seen as a sign of mental unhealth, but I usually, Stephen, believe it or not, as optimistic as I can be, I usually think through the worst case scenario, but then I plan backwards. The question is, if we're going to go to the worst case scenario, we can't stay there. We prepare what it looks like to go forward, but we have to give ourselves the freedom to consider, what does a better scenario also look like? Because literally, the majority of worst case scenarios that we have fantasized in our brain have not come true. Plenty of them have. So I know some of your stories, you know some of mine. A bunch of us have got some bad stories, and I don't mean to make light of that, but we make up catastrophic stories that do not come true. And here's a fun one. We think, well, someone's got to worry about it. And no one has to. We think, well, if you're not going to worry about it, I'm going to worry about it. Someone's got to worry. No one has to worry about it. We think through strategically. Okay, if worst case happens, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? But then live with the idea that there is just as much of an opportunity for a better scenario to come through. The challenge is when we just live with the worst case scenario and stay there. And that is tough on both parties. The optimistic person is like, can you just think maybe something good will happen? And then the pessimist, like, well, you want me when the crap happens, you're gonna be looking at me. You know, I mean, I get it, like the functions, but both are just as much possible. So, Stephen, my encouragement is, if you go to the worst case scenario, plan backwards, and then don't fear it, because you've planned going from it. But there is just as much of a possibility that the good thing will happen as the bad. So yeah, that would be my tiny bit. I mean, we live in fantasy worlds all day long. Which fantasy world do we want to live in? And well, if I'm strategic, it's okay for me to live in an optimistic world. I'm prepared for the negative world, but I'm strategic towards the future world. But I hope that I don't mean to make an easy answer of a difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part. You know, I'm just thinking about journaling. I know for me, it's so difficult to write what's going right, you know, in my business or in my life, because all the negative always come to the top, you know? And I know there's more positive than negative, but the negative is what always take precedence, you know?
Yeah, and for you and me, Stephen, and for all of us, I mean, that goes back to maybe the journaling, where we really need to celebrate the good, because if not, we just live in a world of negative in our head, and that ages us, wears us down. I mean, all those things. Like, we really do need to celebrate the good. And I get it. You know, you can't pay your mortgage with happy thoughts. I mean, I get it. We got a job to do. I mean, I get it. But we live in our head all day long. And so there is still the possibility that something really good is going to happen. So, you know, I had a client, a potential client, tell me, I'm really interested. Call me April 15th at 11 o'clock. And man, that phone hit ping 11 o'clock and I called. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on that system. And you could tell the moment the conversation started, you're like, you are setting me up to tell me no, right? I mean, you every now and then you get surprised, but it was a setup to tell me no. And I'm outside walking around pacing and everything. And I'm trying, you know, all I can do in that situation is recognize what it is, and then, you know, then try to be optimistic for the next person I'm meeting and go forward. Because I was generally not thinking they were going to sign up, but man, I just can't live in that, because if not, man, I'm just going to get eaten up. I just can't. So, well, we got a couple of things that are going to come up with that. And so, Stephen, if we don't address it enough going forward, definitely hop back to that if that's okay. All right, guys, move your body, move your mind. You do not have to run marathons. Let me say that right now. What I do is miserable. I don't expect anybody to do what I do. I just love it. I'll tell people, if you don't love running, it's an awful thing to do. You can walk. I mean, I always put it this way. I respect all movement. If you're moving, you got a chance to be healthy mentally and physically. But if you're in a funk, you got to go move around, guys. They really do. There's a scene in a TV show. I think I've shared the story with you guys, called Super Pumped. It's the TV series about Uber, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it. And there's a scene where they run out of money, and his girlfriend's like, "You coming home tonight?" And he's like, "Nah." And there's a montage of him just walking around his office all night long. He's walking, he's swinging a baseball bat, he's laying on the ground, like he's just moving, because that's what he's got to do. And he comes up with a solution. Moving your body will move your mind. So I don't care what it is. I do not care what your form of exercise is. We've got to move our bodies. It directly affects how we think. It's an act of mental toughness to say, I'm going to make myself do this. And you don't have to do it every day. I mean, you got to find a pattern. I'd recommend every day, but you've got to find some sort of physical pattern. I'm not going to ask anybody this question, but some of you have got histories in your life where this was a phenomenal part of your life, like a transformative part of your life. And you probably feel guilty. And I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty, but we look back and go, oh man, I remember when I was this or when I was that. It's just dump that into the garbage can and then just start tonight or tomorrow. Like, I'm just going to do this small thing. You don't have to make an Instagram page out of it. Just do something and get your body moving. That walk, that swim, that yoga, that stretch, that jump rope, that weightlifting, that running. It is part of mental growth, because we have to make ourselves do it. I mean, even if we create a perfect scenario, it's still not easy. I think I've shared with some of you guys, I've gone through a really bad hamstring injury and I couldn't run for 4 weeks. Oh my goodness. I mean, it messed me up. You know, I don't enjoy lifting weights. I don't enjoy, I mean, but that's what I had to do. I had to go into the basement and do pull-ups and push-ups and weightlifting. And I just didn't want to do it. I was like, if I can't run, I don't want to do anything. But I had, you know what? It was one of the best things for me. Like I forced my brain to have to do something. I didn't do it right every day. I didn't succeed in every area, but it was the absolute best thing. So guys, move your body, move your mind, take the steps, anything, but it really is transformative. Just figure out what works best for you. Just figure out what works best for you, because that's the most important thing. And so I've added in weights. I enjoy them. It's not what my favorite is, but it's now part of that arsenal. And it's mental toughness for me to go, oh, I don't want to go do this, but it's been so helpful. So guys, those are my strategies. I want to move towards a couple of quotes and then start landing the plane for us. Honestly, these next slides are random quotes that I love. And I'm like, I don't know where to put them. So here you go. So here's some quotes that resonated with me. Mediocrity scales exponentially, but excellence scales incrementally. If you don't know who Myron Golden is, start following that guy. Man, mediocrity runs the world. But if you want to get excellent, it's slow. It's day to day, bit by bit. And guys, that's what growing in mental toughness is. A little bit every single day. A little bit, say, divide your day up into AM and PM. A little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, but mediocrity everywhere in the world. Excellence, slow. And I just remind ourselves, because you're not going to see initial progress from this. Like, you're just not. Like, you're like, how do I know if I'm mentally tough? I don't know. That's for you to determine, but recognizing it, it's going to be a slow process. So one more. The scariest place you can be 90 days is exactly where you are right now. Like, don't ever allow yourself to say, I mean, like, don't ever be in a season where you're not growing. It's absolutely terrifying to not grow. Because if you're not growing, you're going backwards, guys. And you know what happens? We have these seasons where, like, it ends today. Today is the day where I'm going to start working on this. So, and then this one goes back to what we talked about a minute ago. Anything we tell ourselves about the future is made up. So if you're going to make up a future, it only makes sense to make up one that serves you and doesn't rob you. So, Stephen, that straddles both lines. Worst case scenario does serve you to a certain extent, if you're getting ready, right? But we can't let worst case scenario rob us. It can't, if it's robbing of us our joy, we're not doing it right. Like, you know, it should be okay. I'm going to equip myself against that thing. But you know what? My future may be fantastic. You know, my future may be full of health. And so and I'll try to really chill out on all the marathon conversations. But I got one more thing to share with you guys. So every November I run the Richmond Marathon. It's on my birthday weekend. And so it's just the pattern. And I know those 26 mile, I've run it 8 or 9 times. I know it like the back of my hand. And I know how I should feel at every single moment in that race. The week before that race, I began thinking through that course in my brain. Like, for example, I know that mile 6 is all downhill. And I know that mile 7 is along the rapids and very peaceful. And then there's the grind that's straight uphill to mile 13. And then mile 15, that's James River Bridge. And if I can make that left turn at 16 and survive to 20, I have a good chance for a marathon. So I think through that race and I see me doing it incredibly well. I think, how fast am I going to run and how am I going to feel at mile 6 and 7? When I get to James River Bridge, I'm not going to let it make me pessimistic. I think through running that bridge, running it strong and feeling great. And I picture myself running downhill at point 2 on the way to the island, sprinting and feeling fantastic. Now, honestly, guys, out of the 8 or 9 times I've run it, I've only got that story twice. I've had 2 perfect marathons there. I've had a bunch of awful marathons there. But it prepares my brain to know how to feel in that circumstance. So I might as well create a scenario where I'm doing well. I don't dream about tearing my hamstring. Like, well, I fear it, but I don't sit there and fantasize about tearing my hand. But we do that quite often, is that we create a fake world where things are really awful. And then we live in that prison. And mental toughness gives us an opportunity to dream of a different scenario. So, guys, tell yourself stories that do this. Tell yourself stories that equip you, but don't rob you. That empower you, but don't hinder you. And they give you hope and not despair. They both take the same amount of energy, but they have drastically different outcomes. So we can think through, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Well, I'm going to equip myself to handle that, but I'm not going to let it rob me of my joy. What do I need to think through that empowers me to do well tomorrow, but not hinder me? And what gives me hope and not despair? Because it takes the same amount of energy to do both of those things. One of them is detrimental. The other one is more equipping. So before I head on into the final portion here, guys, I've got a few things I want to share with you. I do have a slight offer I want to share with you, but right now, guys, any questions or anything that I could answer for you guys, or anything you'd like to contribute?
I can share one tiny thing.
What's that? Sure.
Besides all the walking through the years, I realized, this is quite some time ago, years ago, and I don't do it as much now, but I realized, and my family realized, that when I got upset about something or needed to like work something out, I'd always pick up the broom and start sweeping. And I'd sweep the kitchen, and I'd sweep the sidewalk, and I'd start sweeping the driveway. And sweeping was my movement that just let me work through whatever it was. And I would just sweep, and then I'd feel better.
Yeah,
so that was an extra movement, but sweeping worked for me.
Well, and it might be a little bit of a soothing exercise too, Nancy. I mean, there's things that we do that soothe us. Mm-hmm. You'll see children sometimes with more profound mental challenges will sometimes do that. They'll have a habit or a pattern of something they do over and over again, and it calms them down. We really aren't that different as adults. It can be alcohol, or it can be sweeping. Like regaining order to something where there's no disorder. Like I have a hard time going to bed with a dirty dirty sink. I'm just gonna tell you, it helps me, I just want that thing cleaned up before I go to bed, but whatever it is, it brings a little bit of order to the end of the day. And I'm like, at least when I wake up, I'm not going to see all that garbage there. So I get that, but thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? All right. Well, guys, what I'd like to do is I did create something specially for this. And so I'd like to share it with you guys. Let's just take 5 minutes and then we can head on. I'm ready for some dinner. I set out in December to create something different than my marketing coaching. And I love that, but I thought I'm not utilizing any of these other parts of my life. And I didn't want to just throw up something that seemed kind of generic in terms of like life advice. So what I did was I get together and I filmed 90 60-second videos. And they follow a curriculum along the lines of faith and family and fitness and finances. And then I created those little capitalized journals that you saw. And so I created a program where for 90 straight days, you get one of those videos. Every morning at 7 o'clock or so, you get a video. And it gives you a journal prompt and something to think through and sort of this mental journey of ours. It applies to anybody of any faith background. It applies to anybody of any fitness level. It's not telling you go run 5 miles. It's nothing like that. And it does talk about finances, but it speaks personally. It's not talking about revenue generation. And so it was a lot of fun to create. It was a lot of fun to film. And so I've put this program together. I call it Capitalize Your Best Life. And so there's a slide here, but I'll just tell you what it is. What it is, guys, is you get these 90 videos. Every morning you receive one. I'm going to send you a journal for you to keep note. And Nancy, it's the spiral journal, not the hardback journal. It's Nancy M. So I send you a journal to keep track of it. We do an onboarding call, and then every 30 days you and I meet. And we just walk through as much as you feel comfortable walking through with that. I've enjoyed it. I've had a couple of people go through it. It's been a lot of fun. It's taken a couple of transformations since we launched it in January, but I wanted to play a part in people's lives beyond just, hey, let's go make money. I know money is absolutely important, but the role of pastor and teacher and counselor, I don't have as much as anymore. So this has been part of it. So something special just for you guys. If you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a checkout page. When we launched, the cost was, guess what? $2,024. Hey, but because you guys have the mental fortitude to sit through, there's a little coupon code in there. And if you type capitalize in there, it gives you 50% off. So it's actually 50% off of that. So it's just $1,012. You'll get a video every single day. You're going to have one-on-one coaching with me, and you're going to get a journal. And once this group builds up big enough, ultimately we'll have some group sessions together, but they're still early on in this program. But if anybody's interested, that's the QR code. And then I'm also going to share with you guys that link in the chat line here for you if you're interested at all. But this has been fun for me to share. I appreciate you guys sitting through it and just your willingness to share all that you have. Any thoughts or anything that you guys might want to add on here as we wrap up? Any last things?
I enjoyed this, especially that last two parts talking about the physical exercise, because I used to do a lot of walking, got away from it, and now I'm finding I want to get back into it. And then that last part you did about the I call it daydreaming, but thinking about the future. I'm guilty of that, but that's the problem is that sometimes I feel guilty about it, that I'm wasting time, but to try to make it into something that actually has a positive impact on my my thinking. I like that idea.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I mean, imagine if instead, I can't say this word, catastrophizing. There's actually a verb for it. I mean, imagine if we just daydreamed about all the best things happening to us, and people go, well, I don't want to be disappointed. Well, you can live in misery all day long, imagining all the worst case scenarios. So that's your option. But every now and then, things do kind of work out for us. And so that doesn't disregard or downplay the difficulties that we do go through. We go through a bunch of crap. I mean, this is a really tough world. And people disappoint us, and gas gets expensive, and I mean all that stuff is going on there. It really is. But we do have the opportunity to live in one of two worlds. Just admit we all live in fantasy worlds inside our brain. Every single moment of our brain is a fantasy world. Which one you want to live in? And so once we start creating more enjoyable outcomes and scenarios, we start working towards them a little bit more.
That's ties into what you and I were talking about before we got started on this whole thing, or when I first came on screen with you, and I was sharing some things with you. That's a lot of that is I'm thinking of the future. I mean, I don't have any employees yet, but I keep dreaming about someday having employees. I'm actually writing a employee handbook.
There you go. Yeah, all my manifestors out there would be proud of you.
You're justifying my thinking there, so.
Well, all my law of attraction for friends would be very proud of you. They would be like, yeah, so that's fantastic. So, well, guys, reach out to me if you have any questions. I've enjoyed it a ton. And if you have questions about the Capitalize Your Best Life program, let me know. But I just thought that I'd love to get a few more people in there. And the first few people who went through it really enjoyed it. So I can always share a referral if possible. But I'm getting a text that it's time for dinner, which makes me very happy. And so any last thoughts, guys? All right, well, I'm going to shut this recording down.